Nigeria's tax reform bills are a set of 4 bills aimed at reforming the country's tax system. The bills are the Nigeria Tax Bill, that's the NTAB of 2024. This bill aims to consolidate various tax laws and also expand the nation's tax base. The Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, that's the NTAB of 2024. Now, this particular bill focuses on improving tax administration and enhancing tax compliance. The Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, NRSEB of 2024. This particular bill seeks to establish a new revenue service to oversee tax collection and management. There's also the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill. This bill aims to create a joint revenue board to coordinate tax revenue collection and sharing between different levels of government. The overall goal of these bills is to create a more efficient and effective tax system that can generate sustainable revenue streams for national development. Now, some of the key objectives include addressing the challenge of multi-layer taxation, consolidating various legal frameworks, and also relating to taxation by enhancing tax compliance. Now, joining me on the program this evening to discuss this extensively is Professor John Gambo-Laah. Is a member of the Academic Advisory Committee of NIPSS. Now, NIPSS is the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies in Jos. I also have Mukhtar Mohammed, is a public policy analyst and also the CEO of Finance with Mukhtar. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
All right, let me start off with Professor Gambo-Laah. Let me start by saying that the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies was my place of primary assignment during my service years. So, in a way, it brings back memories. But it's great to have you on the program, Professor. All right, let me start by asking, what do you make of this tax reform bill that has been generating a lot of storm, particularly across various strata?
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy to be part of New Central and to be also part of this topical issue, the issue of tax reform in Nigeria. Well, I have been following the discussion, and to start with, I believe that a country cannot really succeed without a proper tax system. So if you were to look at all countries that are developing or have developed, the tax regime is quite high. And I think this is the way things should be. And I'm not sure Nigerians are against taxation, but even the opposition to the tax system in Nigeria, especially this bill, has to do with the value-added tax. Because if you look at the whole issue of the tax opposition in Nigeria, has to do with governors and states from the northern part of Nigeria. And there are reasons why it is like that. But I think that if we have to move from point A to point B in our growth and development, there are needs for reforms. And I think the tax system is one of those issues that Nigeria should look at. And I'm not sure that there's a total opposition. What I think is happening is that probably there's no proper information. There was probably not proper advocacy, so to say. But I think it is an issue and it's worth discussing.
Thank you so much. Let me bring in Mukhtar Mohammed into the conversation. I mean, this particular reform bill has been generating a lot of reactions, particularly from some notable figures, politicians, and even experts within the economic space. We know that the likes of the former Vice President of Nigeria and also multiple-time presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Alhaji Abubakar, has actually also voiced, some reservations as regards this bill. We've had Senator Kwakwanso react to this, amongst the plethora of some governors too. I would like to know your take, as a financial expert.
Yeah, thank you. Like Prof said, for growing a nation or growing the economy of a nation, tax are one of the tools. And in terms of tax, you were talking about proper taxation. What we've seen in Nigeria and those for over the years are what we call levies. government just levy smaller business, levy transporters, levy market women. This is the first time we're going to a proper taxation, and it is to reduce the levies that the governors normally collect in their states. And that's part of the problem. So, but for the value-added tax, I think it would have been an issue if the governors or the government of those states have empowered their people. It's as simple as this. The level of consumption determines the level of value-added tax. I can't be consuming so much in Lagos, and Lagos is building infrastructure to keep my business, and is providing the within for me to succeed. And then you want us to share it equally while you are just there learning about coming to Abuja to just share the withholding tax. I think that is the problem. The problem is that the governors are refusing to think of how to empower their people so that they also will be empowered to consume, because value-added tax is all about consumption. They are not even talking about establishing businesses in their place. They are not even talking about their population. Look, a state like Kano State should not be complaining, because when you look at the Nigerian population census, the number of people in Kano State is literally one of the second largest state with population in Nigeria. So that means a lot of people in Kano should be consuming more. But unfortunately, because the level of poverty, the level of consumption there is low. In relative to some of those in Kano will even come back to Lagos to get a job, and they will consume here and they will pay the value-added tax here. So I just think it's the proper thing to do. Though I can't but agree that government also did not handle it well, and there seems to be a little kind of arrogancy in the part of the presidency with the way they handle the whole issue. I think it's only now they're coming to terms with it. Okay,
you said there seems to be a bit of arrogance with the way the presidency is handling the issue. I would like you to shed more light on that. Arrogance in what aspect?
Well, when you look at that, you remember the governors were about to meet with the president, the National Economic Council, the governors, the 19 northern governors, and or is it 19 other governors now, and the emirs met and said that this tax bill is not going to help them. Rather than the government to negotiate with them, call them for a public presentation for them to look at the bill and let them know what are the benefits of this bill to them. The governors in that week and the governors forum also met and told the president to withdraw that bill so that for more consultation. But the president bluntly refused and said, look, it's better you go and do consultation in the National Assembly. But you and I know why the governors are not confident in the National Assembly, because anything from the presidency that gets to the National Assembly seems to be rubber stamp. So they are not even so confident about their legislators be able to do justice to it. And that's why they were saying the bill should be withdrawn for further consultation. So that's where I think the arrogancy comes. Now the presidency is trying to explain. They went to the Senate, even if they were not even supposed to be there, they were allowed to make a presentation. But it's like the matter has gone beyond what a single presentation will make the bills to pass through. I think they need to dialogue. They need to let the northern people know, because this is strongly coming from the northern state. And so they need to be dialogue. That's what I mean by the arrogancy. In terms of policy, sometimes you have to find your way through it, either through a political solution to it or through a mutual consent to it. Look, if we have not been thinking of a political solution to the issue of value-added tax, you shouldn't forget that Lagos State and Rivers State are already in court before now. And the Supreme Court was about to give judgment. And we all know what that judgment will be. But they came to a political solution to it. They said, look, let's settle this issue politically. And look at what political solution has brought us to. So I think it's time we begin to look inwardly, begin to handle issues, economically, rather than adding politics to it. Now it's becoming difficult. If the Supreme Court has given that judgment by now, I'm sure all governors would have adhered to it.
All right. I would come back to Professor Gambo-Laah on, of course, some key concerns, specifics, particularly as regards this tax reform bill. But first, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll definitely pick up from there. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This, of course, is still News Central TV and it's Politics HQ. I still have my guest with me, Professor John Gambo-Laah is a member of the Academic Advisory Committee of NIPSS, Kuru Jos. I also have Mukhtar Mohammed, who is a financial expert. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with me. Let me come to you, Professor Gambo-Laah. Now, let's look at some specific concerns as regards this tax reform bill, one of which is that it might increase the tax burden on low-income earners and small businesses. As of course, there's also the fears of potential dissolution of key federal, agencies, and there's also the lack of clarity of the bill's provisions and implications. I would like you to take all of these concerns by piecemeal. Do you think that it will pose some sort of burden on low-income earners and small businesses?
No, I don't think that is the intention of the bill. And it's clear from the analysis of the bill actually aims to reduce taxes for low-income earners, so to say. And that is the essence of the whole thing. And the worry about the bill, especially from the northern state governors, about the fact that it will not favor them, what the bill is even saying is that there are so many federal institutions that are in the business of collecting taxes, and they are not supposed to. And the bill is now saying, no, we want to limit those federal agencies who are collecting taxes. And this should be a point of interest to the governors, in the sense that here is a government saying that, look, our interest in collecting taxes, we want to reduce it. The whole thing about the bill is also saying, even the VAT is saying that there's need to reduce the proportion that goes to federal government to about 10% or so. And this is something that should be of interest to state. I think what is happening is that the state also understand that issues of tax are residual matters. They were not in the Constitution, and if you look at what happened, Rivers State took the government to court, and they won in terms of collecting VAT, value-added tax, in their state. So states are believing that since it's a residual matter and has not been part of the Constitution, that they should also be responsible for collecting tax. But as we shall see, I mean, if you look at, I live in the North, I have been in the North, I was born in the North, I went out to Lagos briefly, came back to the North, I'm living in the North, and I don't want to say, but I hope to die in the North, so to say. But the issue is simple. Now, if we continue business as usual, and we live in our comfort zone, we are, of course, derivation formula, 20% went to derivation. In other words, those who are given more, they are also, those who are contributing more should get more. But the present derivation formula is that it is 20%, and government is hoping to increase it to 60%. And this is the point of contention. There is nothing else that the state governors are against, other than the fact that government is trying to increase the derivation formula to 60%. In other words, states that are contributing more should get more. And this is the fear, as against the initial arrangement, which was based on 50% population. Now, if you reduce the component of population to 30%, it means that all the mega states in the North that have been enjoying VAT on account of their population number, these will now reduce significantly, and then you now have states that are contributing. But look, what we have said is that if a government must move from one point to the other, and that's from underdevelopment to development, there are a lot of things that must change. And one of the things that must change is issues of taxation. I live in Kaduna, I work in Kaduna, I pay heavily for pay as you earn. But I'm happy to bear that amount because I know what the state is doing in terms of development, in terms of infrastructural development. So the issue is simple. If we had removed the issue of VAT and leave it as it were, I am telling you there wouldn't have been opposition from the North. Because if you look at what is the opposition, that you are saying that some federal agency will no longer collect VAT, that should be of interest to states. That the leakages that we expect in the system will no longer be there. And there's nothing, the issue of joint tax board, I'm not sure anybody is opposing that, because I'm in Kaduna. Before, if I want to sell my vehicle, I go to VIO to do proof of ownership. I go to licensing authority to get my plate number, to get my license. I go to Federal Road Safety to get my number plate. But as it is now, you don't need all those arrangements. You go to one place and you collect everything in an office instead of wasting time. But it is easier for them to sort themselves out because this is a government agency, and they know it's just to put a code, and then this money goes to that.
Okay, so but talking about government agencies. Talking about government agencies.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Professor.
Yes.
Yes, I said talking about government agencies. There are fears that this this tax initiative, or the bill, would bring about the dissolution of some key federal agencies, such as the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, and quite a number of other agencies like that, including NIPSS. So do you see that happening with this initiative? Did you get me, sir?
Sorry, I didn't get what you said.
So there are some concerns also. There are some concerns also that this tax bill would bring about the dissolution. I'm
hearing you.
Okay, there are concerns that this tax reform will bring about the dissolution of some key federal agencies like TED Fund or even NIPSS. I mean, do you see that happening with this bill?
No. You see what the bill is very clear. The bill has made suggestion. The issue of TED Fund was not government that deliberately put that. It was an agitation by ASU and other university unions, so to say. So, and if you look at the states, go to any state. I'm a lecturer in the university, and I'm also in the state university. Most of the development in the university system is coming from TED Fund. Now, and this development has transcended all. In fact, private institutions are even saying that, private universities are saying that it is time for them to start enjoying, because in any case, those who are contributing to TED Fund are actually the private sector, and therefore they should benefit. But what ASU has said is that, look, TED Fund has been an agency of government that has a lot of success stories, in the sense that you can go to any university in Nigeria, a public university, and you see the footprint of TED Fund. I'm not sure that TED Fund is an agency that has misused the opportunities. You might have some issues around transparency, but in any case, it has lived it. But look at the downstream sector, because there are a lot of revenues collected by these agencies. And the states are not, they are not aware, they don't even know what is collected, the amount. Of course, we learned that His Royal Highness Mohammed Sanusi said that even the money that MPC is collecting, CBN does not know, and neither the Minister of Finance, so to say. So if the agency of government is not even aware of what NNPC is collecting, state cannot be aware. But if government is now saying, okay, fine, we want to reduce the federal agencies that are collecting taxes, I think it should be of interest to state. And I think the argument is that, and if you look at the argument of state wanting to collect VAT, well, again, that is where the problem will be. Because in the northern part, if you implement this reform as it were, the northern part will be at a disadvantage. But is it a good thing or bad thing? To me, as an academic, I think it will provide them enough challenge to invest or go into other sectors.
All right,
because Professor, we tried it.
Professor John Gambo-Laah, I'm sorry to interrupt your flow or your line of thought, but we have Mukhtar Mohammed back. I would just like to take his reaction also, because we are really pressed for time. Now, Mukhtar Mohammed, there are some concerns as regards this bill. Professor tried to highlight, if at all these concerns are germane. I'd like to know your take on it. Do you think it would sort of pose a burden on low-income earners and small businesses? What is the implication of this for investment, for instance? Do we see a situation whereby it will show up foreign direct investors into the country? And also in terms of the implication on even local businesses, how will they thrive? How will they fare? We would have a situation whereby the issue of multiple taxation is nipped in the bud.
Well, in the area of multiple taxation, I think that's what this bill is all about, and they say that will be nipped on the bud, and I totally agree with that aspect of it. And because he's talking to the governors now, we're not going to be seeing so much of taxation. He's talking about we having so much of, instead of levies, then you're beginning to talk about taxes, which I think is better than what we normally have when we have to pay levies. So for me, no economic grows on levies. Most economic will have to grow on taxes. On small businesses, for me, that's the best bill in terms of small businesses. Now we're beginning to look at small business as the lifewire of the Nigerian economy. You are telling them they don't have to pay so much in terms of taxes. If you just make a turnover of about 50 million, you are not allowed, you are not supposed to pay taxes. So that's also good for small businesses. For low-income earners, remember also that bill also is to their advantage, but for the rich and mighty, then it's to their disadvantage because their own level have to go up. So when you talk about the level, I think it mostly deals with small businesses, which we're definitely going to enjoy a lot of incentive. But also for companies, the bigger company income tax also is going to go down from 30% to about 25%, which is good, and that will give companies 5% for expansion in terms of expanding their businesses. And when you think of expansion, then you begin to see provision of providing employment, because businesses will begin to expand and they will have room to provide employment for more Nigerians, especially the youth. So for me, I think in terms of this bill and by smaller business, it's one of the best bills for smaller business and for low income earners, and also for large cap companies also, like I said, the company income tax. So it's a good bill. When you look at businesses, I think businesses will benefit from it. But like you said, the challenge will be, are the governors ready to stop collecting so much levies? That's the topic for another day. And if you listen to the news, Ogun State is already saying they are collecting road levies, whereby it's a road tax, whereby you have to buy a sticker, and then you are beginning to see a distortion with what they are trying to do in the national level, what they are trying to do in the state level. So that's where my challenge is.
I mean, you just painted a very grim scenario right now, where you said in a particular state that they're beginning to collect road levies, where you pay taxes, stickers on your car, and then which, of course, is part of the concerns of some of these key or notable political figures, where they said it might distort the balance of revenue generation from states. I mean, do we see a domino effect of this across states too?
Definitely you see that, because one thing about Nigeria is that when one state does it, before you know, the other state is going to come up with its own. And then you begin to see that effect all over, especially the states that are complaining. But unfortunately, most of these states that are complaining do not have a lot of businesses located in their areas. They are mostly civil service states. And like I said, any ability of the average Nigerians also is not as good as it used to be. So definitely it's going to affect them. But in terms of levies, I think they will look towards levying some of these businesses. But most of the levies, I can tell you, most of the states will be doing, like a state like Benue State, a state like some of the states in the northeast, will begin to think about how to levy food items that are coming to Lagos, and so that will make it more expensive when they get to other cities. So those are the challenges that this current tax reform will have to deal with on how to handle that. But for me, I think it's a good policy, but again, they still needs to look at it and maybe carry everybody along and let them be an open presentation on this tax reform, so that everybody will know what is in the document, rather than just trying to hasten it pass first, and second reading. Sensitive matters like this, you are not even giving room for public opinion to have public debate on it. It's already in the second reading, and you know what that means.
All right, let me bring Professor Gambo-Laah into the conversation. One other issue that seemed to be a point of discussion, particularly in most parts of the North, is tax on alcoholic beverage, which some have said, I mean, they don't consume such in those regions, but they benefit from the taxes. So, I mean, looking at this tax reform, how does that impact on this scenario?
Well, yeah, thank you very much. I think that is actually the basis of the fears the northern governors express, but also note that value-added tax, a lot of items are exempted from value-added tax, and most of those items are agricultural produce. And so the north is the epicenter of agriculture, and since most of the items are exempted, the north will not benefit. But I think this is where the governors are supposed to make their position known, not to oppose the tax as it were, but to ensure that a lot of items come under the tax. And I believe, sincerely speaking, you remember it happened when Hisba police started in Kano, a lot of liquor were destroyed. And of course, most southern governors and institutions within the south were now saying that, okay, fine, if you say you are not going to allow liquor, so you shouldn't benefit from the value-added tax from that, because the money is put in a basket and shared based on the formula that already has been highlighted. And I think this is where the northern governors should also do a rethink. I'm not saying that people should start drinking alcohol, as it were. There are other avenues where you can have serious taxes, and it's challenging our conscience in the sense that if you look at the issue of tax, it is a consumption-based tax. And what is the variable that influences consumption? Is population. So if you say you are more populated and therefore you should have more, it is expected you shouldn't fear value-added tax, because if you have more population, it means you are consuming more. But I think the major issue is the poverty index in the north, which is what is also the driving force of this opposition. If you now allow this value-added tax, as it were, and the northern governors are against being challenged to look inward, then it will be an issue. Because if you take the first 13 states with the highest poverty rate, virtually all of them, except probably 2, are from the northern part. And if you go down to the ones with the least poverty, they are all mostly southern states. So the purchasing power in the north is lacking. And the communal system in the north, where people believe that, look, a rich man should provide for every other person, you are not going to have the consumption. So legitimately, there are fears. But I believe, sincerely speaking, that this should challenge the northern governors to look inward. We have been, Kebbi State is producing rice, but the rice paddies are sold to Lagos. Lagos is the one processing the rice and bagging it into eco rice and whatever. Why can't we have all those industries in the north produce this rice, process them like they are doing in Kano? So I think we should feel challenged, especially northern governors, to look inward. And if we also say that, for example, there is a lot of cigarette consumption in Katsina State. So if somebody in Calabar says, no, we are not going to smoke, and people in Katsina are consuming, then of course, they should have more from cigarettes, so to say. I'm just using that as so it is important for us to know that we need to look at this bill. Let's understand the merits of the bill and the demerits. Now, understand also the fear in the northern part. The fear is that, virtually every executive bill over time has been opposed by so many, but it seems like the 10th Senate, things are passing easily, and they not believe that the moment you have second reading after 2 days, what stops the bill from being passed? But again, it is that when the wage bill, the minimum wage was passed, nobody complained that it took 24 hours and it was passed, so to say. But I'm telling you, it is time for us to look at the bill itself. Maybe there's need to engage more stakeholders. You need to get the journalists, you need to get the academia, you need to get the politician, and every other person. The North has all set of professionals. Let them meet, let them look at the bill as it were. I don't think we can reject the bill as it is. You might seek for modification, some changes as the case may be. But I think, sincerely speaking, as it is now, given the corruption and the leakages, this bill will not fly in the north. But I want it because it will make us to develop, because we need this bill to change our IK, change our economic variables, and change everything, because we must move with the Committee of Nations. Now we have accepted to be members of BRICS. We are just observers, so to say. And of course, you can see that even BRICS as a bloc is also encouraging the issue of taxation. That is why Kenya had to go back to tax.
All right, Professor Gambo-Laah, thank you for that extensive analysis. But I want to bring in Mukhtar Mohammed on this one. Projecting into the future, the no distant future, how do you see all of this eventually panning out? We know it's past the second stage, but there are still strong reactions. Do you think this bill will eventually scale the hurdle?
I don't think so any longer. I don't think the bill will scale the hurdle as it stands now. I think the House of Assembly will step it down indefinitely. So expect the Senate to follow anytime soon for more dialogue, more engagement. And at the end of the day, we'll have a political tax bill rather than the economic tax bill that we have all wished will happen. So I for one, don't think that bill will see the light of the day any longer. But hopefully there will be political solution that will be beneficial to the economy, especially to small business, which are the lifewire of the Nigerian economy. So now we are just concentrating on the value-added tax, and that's where everybody's making the noise about. We are not looking at the benefit for small business. So hopefully they will look at the benefit for small businesses, and then we'll have that this bill passed into law. But if you ask me where I'm sitting now, what I'm seeing all over with the politics going around, I don't think this bill will see the light of the day anytime soon.
Thank you so much for your time on the program, Professor John Gambo-Laah, member, Academic Advisory Committee, National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru Jos.